Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we are going to be casting our ever-critical eye over an Imperial Guard datasheet. And no, your eyes do not deceive you. This isn't a Warhammer datasheet, this isn't a Legends datasheet. We are going to be doing a rerun of the 10th edition Imperial Guard Codex. And the reason why I am doing this is because I am creatively bankrupt. Okay, serious moment. A lot has changed. 9 months ago, when I first reviewed the Guard Codex and the units that came out as part of it, things were very different. Frankly, a lot has changed. Units that were previously bad and I told people not really to worry about are now good. Units that were good have now been nerfed, and enough points changes have happened, enough balance patches have happened where it really is time that these units got a second proper look through, because the whole point of these unit reviews is to try and help people, and if enough information has changed where they're no longer accurate, then they're actually going to do the exact opposite and they're going to misinform people, and that's not what I want. So with all that said, we're going to start off at the top of the chain of command, and today we are going to be deep diving Lord Solar Leontus. With all of that said, let's not mess around any further. Let's fix bayonets and charge right into this thing.
Attention guardsmen, the Commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
First things first, let's start off with a look at that stat line. The Lord Solar has a 12-inch movement. This on paper looks like he's really fast, but in reality it's only somewhat useful. Firstly, being a cavalry model means that he cannot go through walls, and considering that all terrain in 10th edition these days is L-shaped ruins, having to go around the walls can actually significantly slow you down. Secondly, he doesn't actually tend to move all that much, and that is because the typical way that Guard players like to use the Lord Solar is inside what we call a Supreme Command blob. This is where you take a squad of infantry, let's say Cadians, you add a command squad to that squad of infantry, and then you add the Lord Solar. Remember, Guard, Battle and Infantry can have 2 leaders attached to them, even at a 10-man squad level. This allows the Lord Solar to take advantage of the Master Vox in the command squad, allowing him to extend his order range from 6 inches up to 24 inches. Then what you tend to do is put the Supreme Command blob holding your home objective, and voila, you've got a backfield objective holder, which can also do lots of screening out, and also the Lord Solar can actually get his 3 orders where they need to be. So the 12-inch movement isn't all that big a deal. There are some niche cases where you have this guy galloping around in a Hammer of the Emperor detachment, keeping up with things like Super Heavies and Rogel Dawns and all that kind of stuff, but typically you're going to see him inside the aforementioned Supreme Command blob. This kind of leads us on to the rest of his stats. He does have a good defensive stat line, toughness 4, 3+ save, 4+ invulnerable save, and 8 wounds. But again, he doesn't really need that stat line in a funny sort of way, because he's going to be hiding behind a ruin in your deployment zone, doing out orders as part of this command blob. There are some niche cases where having an aggressive Lord Solar might be a good idea, but in my experience, typically, if your Lord Solar is starting to get into combat, it's one of 2 scenarios. 1, something has gone horribly wrong, or 2, someone has deep struck something down within 6 inches to try and do some kind of secondary objective like establish locus, and you're just getting the Lord Solar's unit to mop them up rather than committing some other resource intensive unit in your army. Leadership 6 is nice, but nothing to write home about because Battle Shock is essentially meaningless in 10th edition, and objective control of 2 is decent but is almost never going to come up. In essence, his stat line is almost irrelevant. In an ideal scenario, it will never be something you even look at. The reason you're taking this guy is for his abilities, which we'll get to those in just a moment. But first, let's have a look at his weapons and war gear. Being an epic hero, the Lord Solar comes with a set allocation of war gear. He must take Soul's Righteous Gaze and Conquest, and unsurprisingly, his horse must take the Hooves. You have no war gear options to mention. And the only thing that is worth pointing out is that this model has to be your Warlord. But that's not a bad thing, because Warlord doesn't really mean anything in Warhammer 40k 10th edition. It's just a title, but there's no secondary objectives tied to it or anything like that. Taking a look at the Lord Solar's war gear, we've got his ranged weapon, Soul's Righteous Gaze, and this is a 2-shot pistol. It's actually a pretty good gun. A Ballistic Skill 2+ and Strength 8, AP-2, Damage 2. It's reliably able to pick off a Marine or two, an Intercessor or two. As for melee, he's also pretty decent. He gets 6 attacks at Weapon Skill 2, Strength 6, AP-2, and Damage 2. Between Soul's Righteous Gaze and Conquest, the Lord Solar is actually half decent at getting into combat and battering people. However, it is very important to point out that when we say battering people, we mean low-level battle line units. If you try and send the Lord Solar into any dedicated melee army, he is going to fold like a wet piece of paper. Even something like Khorne Berserkers are going to tear through this guy in a hot minute. So when we actually look at his war gear and stuff, it's probably not going to come into play anyway. Like we said, the only time it's going to happen is if he's beating up some deep striking secondary game unit, or something has gone pretty badly wrong. So if we don't care about the Lord Solar's stat line, we don't care about his war gear, then why are we taking him? Well, it's for all the other stuff. This guy is a guard character. Fundamentally, when you look at guard characters in 10th edition, you need to think of them as force multipliers. We don't really have any damage dealing characters anymore. Before the Codex, we had characters like Strachan, who were genuinely nasty in close combat. But we basically don't have any of those now, and every guard character is a force multiplier. And when looking at force multipliers, you need to see what their orders are, how many orders they get, what their abilities are, and what kind of units they can lead. So this is really where the meat and potatoes of this unit is. Don't get me wrong, quick side note, it sounds like I'm being very negative about the Lord Solar's stat line and his war gear. I'm not. His stat line is good. His war gear is good. The thing is, it's just not that relevant in the majority of battlefield scenarios you're going to find yourself in. The majority of the time, this guy is going to be doing his best work when he's leading people from the back and buffing up the rest of your army. Quick side note, one of the things that I'm trying to do with these new unit reviews, the second pass through, is to be a lot more black and white on what I think is good and what I think is bad, what I think is relevant and what I think isn't. When I did the last unit reviews, they were all, fine, they were decent, the information was there, but I felt like it came across like everything was great, it was all brilliant. And, it's not helpful to a new player when they're trying to decide what's a good unit and what's a bad unit if every unit review makes them all sound absolutely fantastic. So I'm being a lot more ruthless with these unit reviews on where you want to be focusing your attention within a unit and whether a unit is good or bad or not. But getting back on topic, Lord Solar Leontus is very good at leading units because he can basically join anything. He can join Rough Riders, Shock Troops, Jungle Fighters, Death Corps of Krieg, Death Riders, Kazakin, and Krieg Combat Engineers. I believe that is actually the most extensive list of units that can be led by the Lord Solar. However, there's a very long list of units here, but typically you're going to join him onto Cadian Shock Troops, Jungle Fighters, or Death Corps of Krieg. Which ones of those you're going to join him onto is very, very simple. Which one is cheapest? That's it. Which one is cheapest at the time of recording? Whether it's the combination of Cadian and Cadian Command Squad, Katachan and Katachan Command Squad, or Krieg and Krieg Command Squad, whichever one is cheapest is the one you want to go for. If they're all the same points cost, then you want to start looking at their different abilities. Do you need the Krieg Grim Demeanor, or would you be better off with sticky objectives, or would you be better off with the Katachans? You probably don't want the Katachans because this guy doesn't have Scout. It's good for if you're thinking about a themed list, but at this point in 10th edition, no one's taking themed lists. We're all taking cutthroat competitive lists. Out of all those different options, I suspect that the best one these days is actually Krieg and the Krieg Command Squad, simply because a Krieg squad of 10 is the same as Acadian Squad and a Catalan Jungle Fighter Squad. It's only when you start getting up to the 20s where those points shift. And also you get the extra bloke in the Command Squad, which you don't get in Acadian Command Squad or Catalan Command Squad. You don't really need the sticky objectives because this guy's going to be sat on the home objective. And the Krieg Command Squad actually does get the once per game extra bonus order as well. So right now, I think the best way to, and you don't miss out on the Medipack because the Krieg Squad comes with the Medipack and all that kind of stuff. So overall, I think the best Supreme Command Blob these days is a Krieg one because you get an extra bloke and a once per game extra order as well. With all that said, let's move on to his abilities proper, and we have got the Lord Solar. At the start of your command phase, if this model is on the battlefield, you gain 1 command point. Truth be told, this is probably one of, if not the main reasons that you include the Lord Solar in your army list. Getting extra command points is very, very important, especially with some detachments. If you are taking Hammer of the Emperor, it's an incredibly stratagem-intensive detachment. You're going to need as many command points as you can get your hands on. And the Lord Solar just bringing an extra 1 almost makes him an auto-include in that detachment. But any detachment will benefit from including the Lord Solar and getting more command points. Because it's not even about your specific detachment and their specific stratagems. Getting more command points so you can do grenades every turn, so you can do tank shock every turn, so you can pop smoke every turn. So you've got an extra reroll, a CP reroll if you need it. Getting a bonus command point is very nice and it opens up a lot of opportunities for you. And for as long as I can remember, the Lord Solar has had this ability, and for as long as I can remember, this ability has been the number 1 pull to take him. Next up, we've got the Collegiate Astralex. After both players have deployed their armies, select up to 3 Astra Militarum units from your army and redeploy them. When doing so, you can set up those units in strategic reserves if you wish, regardless of how many units are already in strategic reserves. In my opinion, this ability is a paper tiger. It looks much better on the datasheet than it actually is on the tabletop. Firstly, you can put up to 1,000 points of your army into reserve anyway. Between strategic reserves and deep strike reserves, you've got as much as you possibly want to put in there. If you end up putting more than 1,000 points in reserve, all that's going to happen is you have not enough starting game board presence and you just get rolled over before your units come in. There are a lot of screening units in 10th edition at the moment. Everyone and their mums seems to be able to screen out at almost every single level, and it's not even a massive chore to do so. I think this comes down to the fact that the boards are significantly smaller than they used to be. When we used to play on 6x4 boards, screening out was actually something that was pretty important and actually took up resources. Now people can screen you out without even really trying. I've been to a number of tournaments where I have on purpose forced myself to put as much as possible into reserve, and I regretted it nearly every single time. Putting things in reserve, it should be strategic. The key is in the name. There should be a plan around it, and just mass reserving things basically doesn't help. So that kind of invalidates this sort of second part of the ability. Then we get to the first part of the ability, redeploying stuff. It looks great on paper, but in reality, it never really is that useful. You're nearly always better off just deploying the units where you want them to be. Especially with the Guard Army, which has a lot of units, and especially on boards which are quite small, and especially when there's only so much L-shaped ruin you can hide behind. 40k, frankly, isn't that complex of a game. You put your units where they need to be, and then you just enact your plan. Keep it simple, and if you start messing around and redeploying units everywhere, I find for the vast majority of players, you end up just messing about. You've also got to think about the fact that you're at a tournament. You're going to be on the clock. You're going to be under the thumb. You're going to be on a time limit. And if you are spending valuable time of your chess clock allowance redeploying units, then that's less time that you have in the game to actually make meaningful decisions and scoring points. So overall, I do not rate the Collegiate Astralex. I think maybe in the hands of some particularly skillful players, they'll be able to get the most out of it. But for me, I find it just is a lot of faff for not a lot of return. Finally, we get to the orders. This has changed significantly from its datasheet entry. The Lord Solar used to be able to order anything in the guard, whether it was a Ratling or an Ogrin or a Guardsman or a Leman Russ. He used to be able to order anything. Now he can't. He can order specifically Regiment, Squadron, and Titanic. So he cannot order things like Ratlings, Ogrins, and Bulgrins. If you want to find the source of this change, then you go over to Warhammer Community, go to Downloads, Warhammer 40k, go to the Balanced Data Slate, and you will find it on page 7 of the Balanced Data Slate, and you can see it is right here. Being able to issue 3 orders is very nice for the Lord Solar, but it's what he can order which is going to be most attractive about him to a lot of Guard players. Specifically, he can order Titanic units. He is the only person in the entire Astra Militarum Codex who can order Titanic units. If you are thinking of taking a Baneblade, a Shadow Sword, or any of the other Guard super heavies, then he is an auto include, because you do not want to go into battle with your 400 to 500 point mega tank and not have it hitting properly. Hitting on 4s with the Baneblade is frankly depressing. You're going to take the Lord Solar, you're going to give that Baneblade take aim, and it is going to be significantly more powerful for it. Last thing to mention about Lord Solar before we get to the thumbs up or thumbs down, what is his points cost? At time of recording, he is 130 points. He recently had a points buff. He used to be 150. That was too expensive. Now he's 130. It is more reasonable. But it is worth mentioning that you do need to take the command squad and the infantry squad into account as well, which is going to add another 130 points on. That is a hidden cost essentially. So in total, this chap is going to come in at 260 points for most Guard armies when taken in his typical configuration. With all that said, let's get to the most important part of this video, the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Overall, I am going to give the Lord Solar 1 thumbs up, but he does not get the double thumbs up auto include. What I mean by this is I think it comes down to your game plan. Are you taking a Baneblade? Then you definitely want the Lord Solar. Are you taking Hammer of the Emperor or another detachment? Or does your game plan generally involve using a lot of command points? Then you should take the Lord Solar. If you're not taking a Baneblade, and if you're not building your list with loads of stratagem combos in mind, then I don't think he's necessary. I find that you can achieve all the orders that you need without the Lord Solar. If I'm taking 2 tank commanders and a couple of other Leman Russes, I'm sorted. I've got my 4 orders. I don't need the Lord Solar. If I'm taking 3 or 4 platoons and I have got a Castellan and a command squad, well, that's 3 orders. So that's most of my platoons sorted out there. At that point, all I would be doing is taking the Lord Solar for the extra command point. And whilst that is useful, I don't necessarily need it. So he is a good unit, but I think he is only worth putting in your list if you're going to be getting the most out of him. Just chucking him in as a nice to have, ooh, that's a nice to have a little bit of extra CP, probably isn't worth it. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you think the Lord Solar is an auto-include? Do you think he's trash? You're never going to take him? Or are you in the middle ground? What kind of list do you tend to include him in, and what is your game plan when you feature him? If you enjoyed today's video, then don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Redfield, 32, Jurgens, Miasma, Try Again, Bragg, RJ, Scorpion, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Nicholas Walsh, John Stubbs, Guardian, Varney, Sword, Fish Trombone, Picklock the Forged. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.